We are joined now by Christopher Graham, the Information Commissioner. Morning to you. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. I'm sure you won't be surprised to hear that we have been inundated with questions from viewers who are fed up with cold calls, want to know what to do about them. So I'm just going to go straight in with the first question that we had. This is from Glynis in West Sussex. She got in touch with us to say she keeps receiving calls from a PPI company for her husband who's passed away. She asked the company several times to stop, but they don't even acknowledge her letters. She says, do these people not even care what they're doing?
Well, that's a very good example of the scourge of nuisance calls which we at the Information Commissioner's Office are trying to deal with. First of all, it's a good idea for people to be registered with the telephone preference service, which means that marketers should be checking the numbers they've got against the list, and if you don't want to call, then you shouldn't get the call. But many people don't take any notice of the telephone preference service lists. So that's when complaining to us, the Information Commissioner's Office, is really helpful. And last year we had 180,000 complaints, and that helped us to investigate 4 cases which could bring to a civil monetary penalty. We fined over £290,000. One of the merchants who didn't like it appealed to the tribunal, and the fine was increased by a further £25,000. So, but we need the evidence to make those charges stick.
Well, it's very interesting you talk about those fines. So you say one merchant, so this is someone who was doing this,
yeah,
was fined. How much did you say? Well,
in total, we fined £290,000 overall. Okay. One of those appealed to the tribunal, and the fine was increased by a further 25,000.
So I suppose what matters most is what's the follow-up. So do you know, for example, if that company who was so severely handled, as you would say, have they carried on doing it?
Yeah, well, this is, and now we've got the new powers since the 6th of April.
Sorry, was that a yes? Do you mean that company? Do you know if they've carried on cold calling?
I don't know if they've carried on, but my enforcement team are all over this. We did a very successful raid in Brighton last year and uncovered a call centre which had the potential to do between 4 and 6 million calls a year. So we're on to these people, but we didn't get the increased powers until the 6th of April, and it's only evidence after that that will enable us to do more.
Can I just ask you another thing about your team? You talked about your team. I mean, how many, given the scale of the problem, how many people, who have you got working for you doing this job?
The Information Commissioner's Office as a whole is over 400 people. So 400. But we're staffing up in this area. Well, they're not all engaged on nuisance phone calls.
How many people are working on this problem?
We're staffing up in this area. I can't off the top of my head tell you exactly how many people work in the enforcement.
What I'm trying to do is, it really irritates me. I mean, this one, for example, here's one of the ones. Andrew says, cold calls are non-stop on my 83-year-old dad's mobile phone. Bought him a phone last Christmas. 5 cold calls in the first 3 days. Now getting 8 cold calls a day, and I'm just trying to get a sense from you. You're asking people to get in touch with you to tell you.
Have I got the resources to deal with it?
Charlie, is it 10 people in an office trying to deal with it? Is it 20? Is it 200? That's it. I'm just trying to get a sense of it.
It's not 200. Look, if you'd given me notice of that question, I could have come with the precise number of people working in each division of the information.
I don't want you to misunderstand me.
That's not the point,
I'm genuinely not trying to catch you out.
You're not telling me anything I don't know. We've been dealing with 180,000 calls this year. We got the increased powers since the 6th of April, which will enable us to make these penalties stick without proving substantial damage or distress. So we're on to the case. The Witch campaign is helping in that. It's a multi-agency effort. It's the ICO, it's Ofcom, it's Witch. We need changes in the law. In particular, we need to get directors of companies to be made personally responsible for this sort of thing, because the danger is that you impose a fine, you close down the company because it's a small operator and it can't afford to pay. They just start up the next day called something else.
Very, very briefly, because we are out of time. The thing that we have noticed consistently, this is older people and vulnerable people. Are they being targeted?
I don't know whether they're being targeted, but it's a real problem. We worked with the Alzheimer's Society, for example, in this area. That's why we've been pressing the government to make the changes in the rules. One we got on the 6th of April, but there's way to go.
I know you're going to come back for us, I think, in an hour's time. Is that right?
If I'm invited?
No, yeah, absolutely.
I'll check those figures.
No, and maybe we'll do a little more on some of the practical measures that people can look at as well. So thank you very much.
Delighted. Okay.
You're watching Breakfast from BBC News. Still to come, switching off your smartphone, turning off your tablet. Breakfast Graham Satchell is live at a school in Shropshire where they're doing a digital detox.